Sandown because Mark Scaife, who won the Peter Jackson Dash and the entire show at Amaroo Park, his engine has failed to fire and the car is now being pushed up the pit lane. He missed out on 3 points yesterday. This could be a very valuable setback to Mark Scaife. Here's the field now, nice and tight behind the pace car. John Bowe in the front row by himself with Dick Johnson on the outside of Thomas Mazera in the second row. It is going to be a slow start, and I think the pace car will pull off to the left, off to the right rather, which he does. And John Bowe gets a screamer off the start, but look at Brock down the inside. And Dick Johnson is 3 wide. There's only room there for 2 as they make it into the first left-hander. It is going to be fairly tight here. John Bowe is off and running like the wind.
Here's it wide. Peter Brock trying to squeeze up the inside of Thomas Mazera there off the line. Did a great job when they hit the button, but he's just pushed back behind Mazera now. And Dick Johnson getting very, very sideways on his race rubber. That won't be a good move. Jim Richards sneaks up the inside meanwhile and gives Johnson a slow run onto the straight the first time.
Well, every point counts in a championship, Mark, and these fellows are going for 3-2-1 in that order. With Mark Scaife out of the equation this morning, unfortunately, a stalled engine on the line before the dash.
We take the Dunlop race cam as we run up to the back of the straight here, and here's the view from the back of the field. It's a little more pleasant if you're John Bowe at the front of the field. So the 2 Shell FAI cars are running first and last, and I think Johnson would like to correct that. He sits in behind Jimmy Richards, can't do much about it, but Bowe has got an incredible record here at Sandown. In fact, won the Dash back here in 1992. And if my memory serves me correctly, almost cleaned house there that particular day as well.
Peter Brock will be most happy this morning, getting up into 3rd spot here and getting 2nd row for the start.
1 lap to go. John Bowe leads into the left-hander. There's Scaife's car back behind the 7 Sport sign, and there's Scaife walking up the pit lane.
It's a very impressive turn of speed from the Shell Fords. Johnson with a brand new car for 1994. John Bowe driving last year's version, considerably updated for 94. And boy, haven't they got some speed on here at Sandown.
See them all picking up the inside rears as they head through that turn. Now, Johnson's a little closer if he sits in the draft here. I'm not quite sure if anyone wants to
pull over.
No one's going to pull over, but if he gets a slingshot at them here. But Bowe has decimated this field. He got off the start beautifully, and Johnson got himself caught way too wide on the outside and had them all up the inside of him.
Keep in mind, these 5 guys are using their race rubber at the moment. This is the tyres that they had to carry them through 2 heats here at Sandown later in the day. They're trying desperately not to lock up their brakes or burn them up before the event finishes.
Well, the points have been so evenly split this weekend. It was different last weekend where we had Mark Scaife, as I said earlier, 3 points for the championship through fast time. He dominated the Peter Jackson Dash on the Sunday morning. But Bowe's going to get up and get 3 big ones here today because he comes down the start-finishing line now. The checkered flag is out, and John Bowe in the Falcon wins the Dash this morning. 2nd spot will go to Thomas Mazera, 3rd to Peter Brock, 4th to Jim Richards, and 5th spot goes to Dick Johnson. I think a fairly Sandown International Raceway. Huge crowd packed in here today for round 2 of the championship. One guy who's not in the top 6 and with a lot of work to do is Glenn Seaton. And with him, it's Andy Ray out of pole position with Thomas Mazera in the Telecom Mobile Net Commodore alongside. 3rd is Peter Brock. His teammate from 4 is Jimmy Richards in the Winfield Commodore. Out of 5, it's Dick Johnson in the 1st of the Shell FAI Falcons.
Out of 6, Mark Scaife in the Winfield Racing Commodore. Unfamiliar position for him. Out of 7, car 30, Alan Jones in the Peter Jackson Falcon. Out of 8, car 1, Glenn Seaton, we're just talking to then. Out of 9, car 11, Larry Perkins. And rounding out the 10, Wayne Gardner in the new Coca-Cola Commodore.
From 11, it's Paul Morris, the Diet Coke Commodore. 12 is 3, Trevor Ashby, the Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore. Neil Crompton in the 2nd of the Coca-Cola Commodore starts out of position number 13. Tony Longhurst, the Benson and Hedges Commodore, out of 14. And Bob Pearson, the veteran in the Product Commodore, is next on the queue.
Out of 16, Tony Scott in the Holden Commodore. Out of 17, car 12, Bobby Jones in the Ampol Max 3 version. Out of 18, car 39, Chris Smurden in the new Larry Perkins car. Out of 19, car 14, Stuart McColl. And out of 20, car 47, John Trimboli.
Position number 21 has gone to James Phillip in a Holden Commodore. And rounding out the 22-car field in the 2-litre Sierra, it's Stephen Ellery. 10 seconds away from the start. Round number 2, race number 1 of the championship by Shell. John Bowe in pole position by virtue of winning the Peter Jackson Dash, and alongside of him is Thomas Mazera, who gets off the line, lights up the tyres. Mark Scaife splits a pair of them, tries to work Jimmy Richards over before they make it to the first left-hander. And the 2 mobile cars also come out with a gigantic brake lock-up.
Dear, oh dear.
The 2 Winfield Commodore cars are taken wide. out of the circuit, whether that's Scaife or Richardsby, comes straight back in and almost gets the side of Glenn Seaton as they make their way through that turn.
I think that may have been Scaife doing a bit of grass cutting out there, but fortunately he hasn't damaged the front spoiler. We'll see which car that is as they come onto the back straight for the first time. But Thomas Mazzera, we saw him do a huge light up of the rear tyres. And look at the first of shell cars, John Bowe. He's got a rear tyre rubbing there, and that may cut through if he gets into trouble. Look at him as they come up the back straight for the first time.
Ridiculous.
Thomas Mazzera and the Holden Racing Team Commodore leads them across Dandenong Road, 250 kilometres an hour as they swing down the hill for the first time. John Bowe in third, and the first of the Peter Jackson Falcons in fourth.
That's Alan Jones, who's made off to a brilliant start. Next is Peter Brock going through smartly, and Mark Scaife, I think it was, who had the off. So that really has affected. That could have been Johnson who was out wide there. Up on the inside, a little brake lock up there from Alan Jones, sitting right in behind John Bowe. He's not going to see out the entire distance of this race with the problem he's got with the tyre scuffing the side. They come in to rip off the first of 20 laps. Tony Longhurst getting away smartly. The crowd right onto this one. Mazzera, the leader. Mark Scaife in second. Third is John Bowe. Then it's Alan Jones up on the inside as well. So it was Jimmy Richards, in fact, who suffered badly out of that shuffle.
Look at the front of JB's car. He gets it very sideways as he gets on the power coming up through the switchback here. The front of the car's been damaged. Gee, he's really been in the wars at that first corner.
Jones is right on his tail. They're not fooling around here, these two teams.
Top 10 cars covered by less than a second in qualifying. Very close and very competitive. Look at Scaife as he gets under the wing of Thomas Mazzera up the back straight for the second time. Scaife had a flat tyre at the beginning of the Dash for Cash earlier this morning. Instantly pushed him back to 6. Now he's got to fight through. Well, look at this. He's already up to second position and challenging for the lead.
He's not going to make a run at that particular part of the circuit because Mazzera has this well and truly under control. Up to the next left-hander. Scaife in second.
Another big brake lock up there.
It was Alan Jones just ahead of that too, and it was Glenn Seaton. That's the second brake lock up he's had it since the opening lap.
Well, brakes are a big factor here, and certainly by the time we get into the second heat, not looking too good. Dick's not on 10/10ths.
Well, that's one of the shell cars on the way out. John Bowe still hanging in third position. Haven't the shell cars been in the war this morning in these opening 2 laps?
Thomas Mazzera brings them across the line. He speed up the back straight last time, 249 kilometres an hour. Right behind him, Mark Scaife. And here we have the wars for Dick Johnson. John Bowe's already got a tyre problem. Johnson's got a bigger one. And Scaife all over the back of Thomas Mazzera. I think we're in for a great race between these two drivers. Two youngsters who can really set the pace. They've opened up a gap here. Bower's gone out onto the grass. Alan Jones gets up on the inside of him, and Glenn Seaton starts to make that similar move as they head up the back straight this time.
It is hard to judge that first corner on the opening lap. It's a long way away from the start-finish line, and fellows get a little bit anxious. They try to make as much ground as they can, but I think it's a pity that on the opening lap so many fellows found it necessary to do a sideswipe maneuver and put their colleagues paid to the event.
Thomas Mazzera 1.1 seconds under the lap record in qualifying, set by Larry Perkins only at the Sandown 500 meeting last year. So it's the same package, but just shows the development that's going on with these cars, how much faster they're getting in such a short period of time.
Well, they're professional teams, mate, and they've had a long time since Bathurst, really, then we've all been at war.
Looks like
5 months to get things really moving for the 94 season, and it's unfolding here. The people that have done their homework are coming through.
Here comes Scaife, challenges up on the inside as they come under that bumpy braking area. Mazzera goes out wide, Scaife sneaks through. And notice too that John Bowe has also disappeared from the action, so the 2 Shell Falcons have fallen over in the first 5 laps. Big disappointment for the Ford men, and particularly the Shell team, who look so strong here in qualifying. So it's Scaife now, lead them up the back straight once again. The 2 Peter Jackson Fords, Alan Jones in front, Seaton following him through, then Brock in the Mobile Commodore, Jimmy Richards and Larry Perkins getting on the pace now.
Well, here's Dick's change. Oh, John Bowe. So both Shell cars in the wars.
Well, the day looked like being just the perfect one for them, particularly after John Bowe won the trophy dash. But it's all come apart for them. Hopefully they might be able to pick it up in race number 2 this afternoon. But in the meantime, Mark Scaife, former national champion, the Winfield Commodore, leads Thomas Mazzera, who really left a gap open large enough to put 3 Foden trucks through at the end of the straight last time. Here they come down the straight. We might have a replay thanks to Tui's Red and have a look exactly what happened in that first turn. There's the gap though. First back to second. Scaife is sprinting. Let's have a look now. Off the line.
Brock with his tyres locked up there, and you can see that Dick gave him more than a serve coming out of there. John Bow tries to thread the needle. They were all over each other. There's bodywork and things flying everywhere. Smoke, dust. Richards out there on the grass. One of the most frantic starts we've seen in touring car racing for a long time.
That's okay. That's what racing's all about.
That's right. But Shell Falcons have paid the price. Johnson and Bow both out of the battle at the moment.
Well, the gap between our race leader, Mark Scaife, and Thomas Mazera hasn't opened up. It's fairly constant, as Alan Jones doing a fabulous job. PJ team, all sorts of problems yesterday, as we've mentioned earlier, with tyres. They just really couldn't get a handle on it when it came down to the lone session. But expect them to go the distance and keep the pressure on. Scaife loves nothing better than to a bit of adversity. Usually gets the hairs up on his back, and he can usually respond. He's doing that fine job here today at Sandown. Second, still Thomas Mazera, but starting to come under some pressure from Alan Jones in the first of the Falcons. And behind Jones is his team leader, Glenn Seaton. Probably 4 or 5 car lengths back is Peter Brock. Then it's Jimmy Richards in car 6, Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore. And next is Wayne Gardner in the Coca-Cola Commodore, just clear of Tony Longhurst, Paul Morris and Neil Crompton.
5 laps down, 15 to go. You can see Brock's copped a bit of damage on the front of his car too.
I don't think that'll hurt his cooling too much. There's still plenty of gap there for the radiator. It's not really going to hurt him.
These front 6 cars, the battle between Yokohama and Bridgestone. Scaife and Richards wanting Yokohama's new B compound tyre, which they use so effectively at Amaru Park. And the Falcons and the Commodores both on Bridgestone's 29 compound, but different constructions for each car. So, tyre war in order, and Larry Perkins the first of the Dunlop cars behind this bunch.
There's a lot been happening in the pits in the opening couple of laps. Let's go to Andy.
I don't know about a tyre war, but the tyres are certainly in the wars. You saw both Shell cars come in at the same time. Here's Dick Johnson's front right-hand tyre. Both guys apparently had been hit by other cars. Both tyres incredibly shredded, and as you saw, it was just absolute pandemonium and bad luck here in the Shell pit. Both guys are going to do it very, very tough.
They certainly are, Andy. Thanks for that report. Well, you do your planning for a weekend, Alan, and I guess in some cases Glenn Seaton would have gone away from here yesterday very despondent with his 2 cars missing the dash, and Dick Johnson would have been full of elation after the dash this morning, but it's gone away.
And then a lap later, they're in the pits. It is rather cruel. It's something that the fellows have to come to grips with amongst themselves. It's a question of just how sporting you can be and yet be competitive at the same time.
It's a sheer delight here at Sandown today. I'm going to introduce someone, and the voice you'll know automatically, and that is the voice of Formula One Grand Prix racing, Murray Walker, who joins us in the commentary box. Murray, welcome aboard. Hope you're enjoying your stay in Melbourne.
I certainly am, Mike. It's my first time in Melbourne and therefore my first time at Sandown Park. I've just been mentally comparing it with some of the British Championship courses like Brands Hatch and Alton Park, and it's magnificent. And my goodness, this racing is absolutely terrific. I'm enormously impressed with Mark Scaife. He started from, what, 5th or 6th on the grid, and he's now got his way through into the lead. Terrific performance.
Here's the STP race cam riding with Glenn Seaton. We've already remarked not the best of weekends so far for Glenn, but he's trying to pick the pieces up, running 4th at the moment.
So here we are, Mark Scaife. Behind him, Thomas Mazera, the previous winner at Bathurst. Behind him, the 2 Ford Falcons. Alan Jones well up there, world champion in 1982, and there we are in the commentary box. It's all happening here at Sandown Park, and in particular Mark Scaife. So the Holden's Commodores versus the Ford Falcons. Mike, who's your money on?
I think at this stage it's on Scaife. He's such a good strong runner, and it really is the Murray Moth Mark and Mike show today, isn't it? We've got the M's in.
We were very, very impressed with Mark Scaife in Formula 3000 in Europe, and he's come back here. He's gone back to the touring cars like a duck to water, and look at the way he's going now.
I think the problem, Murray, for the Shell company today is that they haven't put out enough boards, because we've had 5 or 6 of their boards have been torn apart by cars running off the circuit.
Good thing they're styrofoam and not doing any damage to the cars when they have those little escape modes.
Now, there's a challenge for 3rd place there. Glenn Seaton, and it looks to me as though there's been a change as they go past. Yes, indeed. Up into third place has gone Glenn Seaton. He's got ahead of Alan Jones. There's the man he's chasing. It's Thomas Mazzera. So the two Holden Commodores of Scaife and Mazzera have now got Glenn Seaton, who's gone so well in this series in the past, hopping his rear wheel off the deck there. Alan Jones tucked in behind him. And there they go, the two Peter Jackson cars. And now the problem that all leaders have in every race, and that is threading their way through the field as they catch up to the tail enders. This is where the top four could close right up. It's where conceivably the lead could change hands.
It could well. Dick Johnson has been in the war so far, back into the pit, shredded tyres, and he joins us on our Dunlop race cam. Well, Dick, I thought everything looked pretty sharp after the dash for you.
Yeah, well, it's looking fairly good, Mike, but obviously the skirmish in the first couple of laps is very difficult to sort of get through. And well, it's very difficult to pass because these cars are fairly equal. So I had a shot at Crompton, which I thought was a fairly fair sort of a passing manoeuvre, and he just got left out and hang out to dry, and unfortunately I flattened the tyre.
We've got Murray Walker with us today, taking in the action as well, Dick.
Oh, really? What a great idea. How you doing, Murray?
Good day, Dick. I was just telling them about the time you took me around Eastern Creek at about 0.2 of a second off the lap record. I shan't forget that in a hurry.
Well, that's good, Murray. I'm glad, because Eastern Creek's a great racetrack.
Now, Dick, you've got the car, you've got the money. What are you doing down there?
Well, I'm damned if I know. I've got to exercise somehow.
Well, Melbourne, of course, is the scene for a fabulous Melbourne Motor Show this week, and that's why Murray is in Melbourne. At the moment, we're following race number 1 of round 2. Not too much. It's closed the gap. It was out to 2.20, but here we see it is all tightened up again as the young Thomas Mazzera starts to gain on Mark Scaife, and those two Falcons are getting closer to the tail of that Telecom Mobile car.
Yeah, you see, it was the O'Shea's car. I'm sorry, I don't know enough about some of the drivers to know which one it was, but they're all threading past him now. But in the meantime, Thomas Mazzera has been able to close the gap between himself and race leader Mark Scaife, who's got the hammer down now as they go through and complete another lap. And we're now on lap 11 out of 20, so we've completed half the race distance. You're looking at the first two, the Commodore of Mark Scaife right behind him, the famous 05 car, well, it's Peter Brock there.
Yes, they're doing well. I still think it's going to remain tight at the front of this field, Murray, with Thomas Mazzera and, of course, Mark Scaife. Half distance has been completed. Shell Race Score tells us the picture. Mark Scaife, the race leader over Thomas Mazzera. Glenn Seaton and the Peter Jackson Falcon runs in third over his teammate. Alan Jones in fourth, and Brocky rounds out the 5. And we'll be back for more action in just a moment.
Scaife in control, but Thomas Mazzera getting closer all the time, opening up a clear gap to the two Fords there. So this is the battle for the lead. It's going to go right down to the wire. These two cars very evenly matched, seem to have similar horsepower, similar straight line speed, and very, very strong through the corners. If we take race cam, Coca-Cola race cam, aboard Wayne Gardner's new Coca-Cola Commodore. Boy, these team have been in the war this weekend. All sorts of engine problems. Teammate Neil Compton's car caught on fire in qualifying and came very close to being incinerated. Gardner currently running in 8th position. Very hard initiation for this team, but they're doing very well in very competitive circumstances. Wayne Gardner working his way up through the 6-speed transmission. Back to second as we take an innovative position for race cam. We look at the feet of Wayne Gardner as he works his way around Sandown Park, just feeding in the power. Bang! Changes up the gear change once again. You can see, and he's just to brush the clutch pedal. And for those of you who haven't seen inside the Group A Commodore, that tray on the bottom of the floor that looks like an inverted scone tray is actually 20 or 30 millimeters above the floor and keeps the driver's feet off the hot floor, because under these cars it gets like a frying pan.
You could cook your scones down there.
See the way he's heel and toeing with his right foot, keeping his the ball of his foot on the brake and the heel of his foot on the accelerator as he changes down. He's not doing it at the moment.
Now just now he's coming onto the back straight, and he'll just give it everything in a straight line, working his way up through the gearbox. I think up to 5th gear. He'll be just pulling into top about here. 6th gear, flat out 250, 260 kilometres an hour as he comes over the top of the hill for that spine-tingling run down through the S's. Back a couple of gears. Here he is down through, just balancing on the throttle, and he'll really bury the brakes here as he comes into Dandenong Road corner. Feed the power in on his way back toward the straight. A little bit of oversteer there. You can see him applying opposite lock. Back through the gears and back toward the pit once again. A fabulous view of the very busy feet of our ex-world champ Wayne Gardner.
6 laps to go in this 20-lap race. And here are the leaders. It's still Mark Scaife. Still behind him is Thomas Mazzera. Still behind them are the 2 Ford Falcons of Glenn Seaton and Alan Jones. Still in 5th position, it's Peter Brock.
And it's just an example of how closely matched these cars are, Murray. How does this V8 racing compare to 2-litre racing for the spectators at the circuit?
Perhaps you shouldn't have asked me that question. I think the 2-litre cars have been a bit closer because they haven't got the power. But this is terrific stuff.
We go aboard STP race cam with Glenn Seaton characteristically chewing on his drink straw there as he works the big Ford round Sandown Park. Very cool customer. He looks like he's so relaxed at the wheel he's just going down to the shops for a few minutes.
Doesn't look as if a thing is bothering him, does it?
No, very, very relaxed driver. Looks up in the rearview mirror. He's got plenty of time to check his gauges, see who's around him. A guy in complete control of the situation. Very, very cool customer.
Nice and easy on his car. You can hear him. He's using the clutch. He's nursing his gearbox. Very kind to the car. You very seldom ever see Glenn Seaton with a car parked at the side of the road.
Horsepower, Alan, or kilowatts perhaps?
About 550, maybe 560 horsepower, Murray.
That is very impressive and very, very quick. And how beautifully these cars ride. Watch him as he goes into the left-hander. Just the left front wheel rides up a little bit. The car stays flat. The power goes down. Glenn Seaton.
Just a little bit of roll there. Nothing to worry about. But as Murray said, the left rear tire off.
The only roll he's got to worry about is the roll of the dice to try and find a way.
Now, this could be, sorry to interrupt you, this could be Mazzera's chance. There's a lapping going on, but no, Mark Scaife goes past him cleanly and coolly, gives Thomas Mazzera no opportunity at all. But now we see what Glenn Seaton was looking at. He was looking at the car in front of him in 2nd position, and I do believe he's a little closer. There's still a very considerable gap, but Mazzera is really pushing now. So there's Seaton. Behind him is Alan Jones, and here are the leaders. Now, there's Scaife.
Well, unless I'm mistaken, and I could well be, but I think Jones has just managed to get past Glenn Seaton. I think he has a problem, but it is very tight at the front, as you've alluded to, Murray, with Thomas Mazzera desperately trying to come up with a win here for the factory today. 4 laps to go across the strike at Sandown. There's Jones just in front of Seaton. We catch that on STP Racecam into the left-hander at the end of the straight here at Sandown. And Thomas a little untidy that time on the exit to that turn, but it is still on this race.
Right, age shall not wither or dim Alan Jones. He's no youngster now. He wouldn't like me to say that, but he's been in racing a long, long time, and my goodness, he's not going any slower as the years go by. Look at this terrific battle for 1st and 2nd places, an even greater battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th places. Here are the leaders in the red Commodore, the Winfield car, Mark Scaife. Then right behind him is Thomas Mazzera, 015. Both in Holden Commodores, and Mazzera pushing now right up alongside. Is he going to nerve Scaife? Is he going to take the Commodore off? No, he's not. Mark Scaife will have nothing of it, and we're into the last 3 laps now.
It is getting very, very tight. Tap, tap, tap through this turn and down to the left-hander. Past the pits. That's drafting.
This is what you call slipstreaming, drafting for sure, Mike.
And Mazzera will be trying to work his way to the inside here, so he catches Scaife out and keeps him to the outside to the turn. Across the line, 3 to go.
But Mark Scaife knows what the situation is, and he is not going to let Thomas Mazzera get his nose inside the red Commodore if he can possibly avoid it. The same thing is happening behind them. The 2 Peter Jackson cars, the 2 Ford Falcons are battling for 3rd position. Right behind them, the 5th and 6th, but it's the battle for the lead at the present moment. So there is Glenn Seaton, there is Alan Jones in the 2 Falcons, out of the left-hander into the straight.
Well, there's no way that Mazzera is going to let go here until the flag comes down over the pair, over the line.
This is lap 18 in this 20-lap race. 2 laps to go at the end of this one. Just remember the point situation.
Yes, Mazzera's already off with 5 points up on Scaife in the 2nd round today by virtue of yesterday's outstanding performance and his finish in the dash. So Mark Scaife into this section of corners now that brings them back past the pits. They're as close as they were a lap ago. In straight line speed, though, it would appear that Scaife might just have that little edge over Thomas Maziera.
He is definitely holding him on the straight. He seems to lose the slipstream just ever so shortly, about 2 car lengths, and not enough length for Maziera to pull out and nail Scaife under brakes. But he's certainly hounding him, and Mark Scaife won't want to make one slip at this stage or it'll be all over.
Same engine situation, Alan, or has one got the Chevrolet and one
They both have Chevrolets, Murray, and both have the 6-speed gearboxes.
Fairly close, and of course Scaife has done it a little tougher from where he started in the field, but he leads. Still out to a couple of car lengths. From this point on the racetrack, Maziera does make up a little bit of ground, particularly into the next left-hander.
And unless I'm very much mistaken, this is lap 19 out of 20. So if you've seen action so far, I think you ain't seen nothing yet, because the last lap is about to be starting. And it's Mark Scaife, Thomas Maziera, Glenn Seaton, Alan Jones. Peter Brock is in 5th position.
Scaife down to the right-hander now. In here smoothly. They're coming up on a couple of cars they'll put a lap on, including the Kalari Transport Commodore, but they'll catch them in the straight and they'll probably have them done by the next turn. Last lap board should come out this time.
Maximum sweep onto the straight. They're not losing any ground there at all. They're keeping the car nice and tidy to keep their speed.
Look at this. Oh. Look at this. There's Scaife. There's Maziera. Burst of flame from underneath the car as he changes down and the engine goes onto the overrun. 2 men to lap. This could be Thomas Maziera's opportunity. This is the last lap in the 20-lap race here at Sandown Park, and Mark Scaife pulls out now.
They're going to thread the needle through these 2-lap cars. They both hang to the left-hand side of the course. Scaife will crest the top of the hill and leave 1-lap car, probably in Thomas Maziera's path here. Now he gets by on the outside. Can he make it before the next turn? Barely, but he does.
This is an immaculate race by Mark Scaife, starting from the 3rd row of the grid into the lead. He's held the lead under terrific pressure from the Commodore of Maziera, and it looks as though Thomas is not going to be able to get past Mark in the closing stages of this.
Here it comes! No, here it is!
As I said it!
Yes, absolutely, coming out of the last corner. Who's got the speed for the checker? Now, I think it's going to be Scaife. Crowd standing here in the grandstand as they come across the line, and it'll be Mark Scaife. Lost the lead, took it back, takes the checkered flag clear of Thomas Maziera and Alan Jones over Glenn Seaton, Peter Brock and Jimmy Richards. Well, a good race, Murray.
Absolutely superb, and that's going to help Mark Scaife, who puts his hand out of the window with a victory salute. That's going to help him with the championship points.
It certainly is, Murray, and a delight to have you with us today. Let's check them out for you on the Shell race score as Mark Scaife picks up the checkered flag. He's gone on to win this one. Thomas Maziera places in 2nd. Alan Jones was 3rd in the 1st of the Peter Jackson Falcons. Glenn Seaton finished in 4th. Peter Brock rounded out the 5, and in 6th place as they went across the line, it was Jimmy Richards. 7th, Larry Perkins. 8th, Wayne Gardner. 9th was Tony Longhurst, and 10th was Paul Morris. Jones and Glenn Seaton. Peter Brock in the Telecom Mobile Net 05 out of 5. Jimmy Richards, the Winfield number 6 out of 6, and Larry Perkins, the Castrol Commodore, out of 7. From 8, it's Wayne Gardner in the Coca-Cola Commodore, Tony Longhurst in the B&H Commodore out of 9, and Paul Morris, the Diet Coke Commodore, starts out of position number 10. From 11 at 7, Neil Crompton, the Coke Commodore. From 12-3, Trevor Ashby, the Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore, and Tony Scott in the Holden Commodore, 54 out of 13. Bob Jones and the Ampol Max 3 Commodore out of 14, and Chris Smurden in the ProTech Computers Commodore starts out of position 15. 16-14, Stuart McCall in the Kartmania Commodore. From 17, it's 47, John Trimble in the Metropolis Commodore. John Bauer in the Shell car, and Dick Johnson electing to fit new tyres and start from the back of the grid, 18 and 19. And they've got their supporters up the back of the field, but they have a lot of work to do. Set to run now. Race 2, round 2 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship, and Mark Scape lights up the tyres off the line. Is snaffled both sides by the Peter Jackson Falcons of Glenn Seaton and Alan Jones. They come down and Perkins has got off, and they've had a collision here. A touch of cars. Perkins manages to split the pair of them. Jim Richards winds up with the worst part of that, and they go either side as Dick Johnson and John Bauer take off. 20 seconds behind the field after putting new tyres.
Oh, they've got driver
Neil Crompton's gone off.
And who else is there? One of the Peter Jackson Falcons. We can't tell whether that's Jones or Seaton at this stage. It's Glenn Seaton.
Terrible, and it doesn't look like Gardner's going to get out of there.
No, it's Crompton, his teammate, but his tyre's spinning on the grass. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to reverse out of the fence.
Some days are diamonds and some are stones.
Well, Mazzara got a terrible start. We can't even see where he is now in the lineup.
Alan Jones, you could see as they came into that first corner, he had everything locked up. He almost lost it himself but managed to gather it up. Then only 100 metres down the track, both his teammate and Neil Crompton ended off in the sand. A very dramatic start to this heat too. So Scaife will lead them through. Larry Perkins up into second position. Now Bathurst winner from last year. Sudden change of form in this second heat. Alan Jones in third, and the first of the Holden Racing Team Commodores in fourth as they come onto the main straight for the first time.
Everyone blamed a very tight Amaroo Park for no action last weekend. You got one of the widest, fastest racetracks, and the guys can't get through 2 turns without scarring the sheet metal here today. Mark Scaife, the Winfield Commodore, leads from Larry Perkins. Alan Jones, car number 30, the first of the Peter Jackson Falcons. And let's have a look at the Tooheys Red replay of what actually happened. Off our race cam, coming down, some gouging here is Wayne Gardner, and number 4 comes up. He allows one of the Winfield cars to go through on the inside of him. Then a touch back behind, and around he goes. So I'd say he got a helping hand. That's the way it finished up.
Well, Glenn Seaton will be very distraught about that. He's a championship contender. He goes into every race and wants to make everyone count. Champion winner from last year.
Look at Scaife, he's got the bit between his teeth. Tremendous straight line speed from the Winfield Chevy. Look at Alan Jones, locks up another brake as they come down to Dandenong Road corner. Larry Perkins still using the Holden V8 in his car as opposed to the Chevy units that are so common now in the Commodores. Certainly no lack of top-end speed, Alan, at this stage.
No, he's come from nowhere, but when people start mixing up their ambitions with their abilities on the opening lap, Larry took advantage and certainly slingshotted himself from the 5th row right up there into second spot, and good on him too.
Peter Brock finished up in 12th position with that Valley on the first lap, and Seaton is 21st. He's got back on the track, but boy, hasn't he got a lot of work to do. So Alan Jones really hustling Larry Perkins as they come off the end of the main straight once again. You can see the car's been in the wars. There's bits of damaged bodywork hanging off the back of the Ford.
Larry gets a little sideways through there, warms up those Dunlops and gives them another warm on the exit. But Jones sits in his draft. Nothing between them. Richards is one back behind them. Next is Wayne Gardner. But up the back straight, here comes AJ on the outside, and the Peter Jackson Falcon side by side with Larry Perkins as they get to the top of the hill. Brave stuff this. It'll be Larry's turn. No two ways about that. Larry finds himself under a little bit of pressure, and that is, in fact, is taking pressure off Mark Scaife. Right up behind them, Thomas Mazzara, who was on the front row there, but burst into a sheer wheel spin and lit up the tyres and went absolutely nowhere. Murray Walker, who's a special guest here for the Melbourne Motor Show starting next Friday. Murray, plenty of action in the opening few circuits.
Indeed, and the sensational Mark Scaife has done it again. He won at Amaroo, he won the first round, but look at this, because it's the battle for third position behind Larry Perkins, who's come up from about halfway up on the grid. He was telling me just before this race began that he's looking after 6 cars this year, so all his time is cut out, but it hasn't diminished his ability as a driver. This ex-Grand Prix man, Larry Perkins, in second position, and what a battle between Alan Jones, number 30, ex-Grand Prix world champion from Australia, in third position, and tucked up right behind him as Glenn Seaton goes well down the field. Glenn Seaton, who finished in 4th position, and there he is, and he's really fighting. He was 21st last time we saw him, but we are now on lap 4, which is 1/5 distance in this 20-lap race. Glenn Seaton 4th in the first heat, and of course he's 2nd in the championship. He's up to 18th position at the moment. There's Perkins in 2nd place, Alan Jones in 3rd position, and coming up fast behind Alan Jones, Peter Brock. And Peter Brock has seared his way through the field, and he was in 5th position in the first heat. So now we go through at the end of lap 4 into lap 5, which is quarter distance. Glenn Seaton is leading. Larry Perkins is in 2nd position. So it's Holden, then the Ford of Alan Jones.
Close enough as they go to the bottom corner. Thank you, Murray. We have an excellent race going here. Glenn Seaton, as Murray alluded to, has got a lot of work to do. Alan Jones at this moment seems to have his hands full containing Thomas Mazzera. And there's Paul Morrison, the Diet Coke Commodore, and Tony Longhurst, the B&H Commodore. They've had a splendid weekend. They're still chasing development work on the car. But by the time we go to the touring car round at Lakeside, expect to see Longhurst and Morris really come out of the blue.
Well, they've done extremely well with 2 brand new cars, and cars that they wouldn't have been familiar with. They only took delivery of them about 4 weeks ago. I think both Paul Morris and Tony Longhurst have done a great job with these 2 cars in the formula this year.
Here's race cam as we take with Wayne Gardner. He heads into the left-hander. Carrying our 7 Sport race cam today is Wayne. And he would be unhappy with the fact that he's already had Neil Crompton, one of his cars, go off down there, but he's concentrating on trying to log a top 5 or 6 finish here today at Sandown. They come across the line. Mark Scaife out by about 5 or 6 car lengths. Wayne Gardner carries our race cam. Wayne, the car any better in the 2nd heat?
Well, at the moment, it's quite glazed up and it's hard to drive.
Okay, I'll let you get on with it. I didn't think you've got a handful, son. Thank you.
I have, yeah, sorry.
Thanks, mate. So Wayne Gardner continues in the Coke Commodore. Up front, Mark Scaife, Larry Perkins, Alan Jones, Thomas Mazzera, Jim Richards. Then, of course, we have Wayne Gardner.
And I must say, Mike, as a motorcycle freak, that it's a real joy for me to see world champion Wayne Gardner transferring so well from 2 wheels to 4. He's most impressive, and he's set up the new team of his superbly.
Yes, he's got a lot of work to do. Early days yet for Wayne's team, but he made the transition, Murray, very well from 2 to 4.
Lap 6 out of 20, and it's still Larry Perkins, 2nd position, number 30. Alan Jones in the Ford Falcon in 3rd position. It's the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and through up into 3rd position goes Mazzera ahead of Alan Jones. So Alan Jones drops back a place into 4th position, and Mazzera, who was making the running with Mark Scaife in the 1st heat, is now sitting about Larry Perkins. There's Perkins, there's Mazzera, and Alan Jones has now been taken, as you see before your very eyes, by Jim Richards in the Holden Commodore. So Alan Jones has lost 2 places in the Ford Falcon. He's gone down from 3rd position to 5th.
Yes, brakes starting to come into play here, Murray, after a hard day's work, and these fellows are getting nailed at the end of the straight, just getting out of their rhythm. But I thought Mazzera made a terrifically aggressive move there, coming onto the main straight, and has just capitalized ever since.
Jones comes back again, dives down the inside of Richards. This will be close stuff. Jones won't give way, and nor does he. He gets up alongside Jim Richards and takes 1 spot back. But he's had a lot of work to do because of losing 3 spots in the last 4 laps.
Well, it's single file down through the S's, Mike, and it's a brave man that makes the wrong decision over the top of that hill, and on that occasion, definitely Jim Richards had to give sway to Alan Jones.
Mike, while you've been looking at the front of the grid, I've been looking at the back, and it's very interesting to see that John Bowe and Dick Johnson, who started at the back with a 20-second penalty in the Ford Falcons as a result of changing tyres, and now we're with Dick Johnson as he's fighting his way through the field. What's the traffic like, Dick? Answer came to none. Dick is very busy indeed, but he's up to 17th place, having started at the back of the grid.
He's done very well. Just looking at the ones who did start back there, Glenn Seaton has made his way to 15th, but he has gone to the pits. So Glenn Seaton in the pits. This will be a weekend that he would prefer to forget. The closest racetrack to his home base, and nothing has gone right for him this weekend. Tyres yesterday, missing the dash this morning and playing catch-up all day. Bowers up to 12th, Johnson now to 13th, and Glenn Seaton, before pulling to the pits, had made his way to 15th spot.
Here we have Mazzera descending on Larry Perkins.
Lap 8 out of 12 this, and Thomas Mazzera is the man to watch. second in the first leg to give himself 16 points in the championship and moved to third position on 37 points behind Mark Scaife on 66. And Scaife is going through now to complete another lap, and he's increased his made.
Well, looks like he's back out on the racetrack again, Glenn Seaton. STP race cam shows he's just checking out the traffic there as he dives down to the left-hander. So he's back out. I'd say they've had a tyre change there. Thomas Mazzera getting closer all the time to the tail of Larry Perkins.
And Alan, you can see from the way that the car's absolutely rocking on the suspension as they go around the left and right-handers that they're absolutely on the ragged edge of adhesion.
They sure are that, Murray. There's no doubt about that.
They go up the back straight, and we check them out on the Shell race score. Mark Scaife is your race leader. There's Larry Perkins. Right behind Perkins, past the 7 Sport sign, is, of course, Thomas Mazzera. Next, Alan Jones, then Jim Richards. But Mazzera has been working the last few laps to pull in Larry Perkins. He's done that. Wouldn't surprise me to see him make one of those inside moves up on the entry to the pit turn.
He's trying to, but Larry, being the tough competitor he is, he's certainly not going to give Mazzera any opening here, and neither should he. We'll be watching Larry drift to the left up back straight here. He'll want to protect the top corner, and it'll be interesting to see. Well, he hasn't, but Mazzera isn't up alongside him either. So one more lap safe for the Castrol car.
And meantime, at the back, John Bowe has gone from nearly 0, certainly to hero, because he started at the back. He's in 10th position, and there's contact between Larry Perkins and going round in the Holden and trying to get past him, Thomas Mazzera.
Watch this next corner. No, Perkins feints it across to the left. That's where Thomas has been doing a lot of passing today. But he's given Larry a tap in the tail, telling him that the liquid engineering isn't fast enough today. And he will go to the inside of him as they come down the straight, and that will put Larry at a disadvantage for the next turn. Here comes Mazzera, car number 015.
Up into second place, he's on the inside, and Larry Perkins has to give way, go round the long way. Masterly move by Thomas Mazzera, and Larry Perkins dodges back behind his wing, but again, Thomas Mazzera has got the right line from the right hand to the left hand, and the left hander that follows. He has a secure second place now. Now, the question is, can he do anything, Thomas Mazzera, about closing the gap between himself in second place and the red Commodore of Mark Scaife, race leader for the second time this afternoon?
Well, that's a tough job now. There's still about 10 car lengths advantage that Mark Scaife has got, and if Mazzera can pull that back in the remaining laps, he'll have done a tremendous job.
Whoop, locking them up.
1.7 seconds between Mazzera in second place and Mark Scaife, the race leader. And you can see for yourselves that they're carving their way through past the tail enders now, who are dutifully and politely moving over. They're watching their mirrors. That's good. Not holding up Mazzera, not holding up Larry Perkins, and not holding up Alan Jones, who is in fourth position still, having lost 2 places earlier. Mike, can I talk to Dick? Can you hear me if I shout loud enough?
You have to shout loud. We'll set it up.
Dick Richards, can you hear me? It's Murray Walker talking to you.
I sure can, Murray.
What about those changed tyres of yours? Are they doing the job?
Actually, they're doing quite well. Actually, it's just that the sun's come out a bit. It doesn't suit me as well as I'd like it if it was overcast, but them's the brakes.
Jim, Dick, this is a commentator's dream of home. You started at the back and you're cutting your way through the field. It's great viewing.
Yeah, the only problem is Bowie's doing better.
We also have our telemetry, Murray, as you can see coming out of that car too.
Oh, don't once, mate. You might cop an over rev every now and then.
5.5, 6,000 RPM. That's 150 Ks. And down into second gear goes Dick. On go the brakes. And now race order on lap 13 out of 20. So we've still got 7 laps to go. And it's still Mark Scaife in the lead from Thomas Mazzera, with Larry Perkins in third position and Alan Jones in fourth place. In fifth place is Jim Richards, and in sixth place, making up the leaderboard, is Wayne Gardner in the Holden Commodore.
So there is the gap opening. Mark Scaife into that turn. John Trimble is the next one through. Thomas Mazzera runs in second. Third is Larry Perkins. He goes through. Fourth is Alan Jones. Fifth, of course, is Jimmy Richards. Sixth spot about to go through that turn was Wayne Gardner. So Wayne Gardner's been able to stay with the pack here today.
Yes, and another one that's staying well is Larry. You can see just how critical qualifying in this championship has become, Mike, because Larry was hardly on camera in the first heat.
That's right.
But by virtue of getting through the Dodgem car exercise on the opening lap in this heat, has got up there and is holding third, a very creditable third, and keeping this freight train at bay behind him.
Here's a good dice as Glenn Seaton coming up behind Jim Richards.
And my man John Bowe is now in 8th position. He's taken yet another place, having started from the back. We're going to see him right in the picture very shortly. And Glenn Seaton is now a lap down on race leader Mark Scaife on lap 15 out of 20.
Yes, it'll be a very bit of oil coming up onto the windscreen there. More than a bit, a lot of oil coming out of the two cars in front of him.
Close here. Seaton pulls to the inside. There's Alan Jones on the outside. Jim Richards sits one ahead of him. Past the grandstand at Sandown and bound for the left-hander now as they get onto the brakes.
He'll have to be terribly despondent. Glenn will really be upset about losing the points in this race, Murray.
Look at the right rear of
that's as damaged as we've ever seen a Peter Jackson car. He looks like he's gone through World War III on that car.
Alan Jones has now dropped 3 places. Do you suspect a car problem? It's not like Alan to give 3 places up like that.
The combination of that, or bearing in mind these tires now have gone a long way, Murray. They had to start qualifying with these yesterday. Heat 1 this morning, and now at the end of the day, they're really asking a lot from one set of tires.
I would think, Murray, that maybe Glenn Seaton might like to finish today with the fastest time, and that's why he's back out there.
There he is. Sorry to interrupt you, Mike. There is John Bowe, and you can see by the way that the Ford is really leaping over the curbs that John Bowe has got the red mist in front of his eyes. I had lunch with him, and he was saying that he was very displeased with the way things had gone in the first leg. He didn't actually say he'd been done hard by in being made to start at the back and with a 20-second penalty, but it was pretty plain that that was how he felt. And my goodness, you can see it now as John Bowe in 8th position is fighting back, and he is right behind Wayne Gardner and going for it.
He certainly is. Down the inside, under brakes may get him.
And he's through. I think he's through. There's Peter Brook. And he's through, yes. John Bowe has got ahead of Wayne Gardner, and he's therefore now up into 7th position. And what a drive.
I think he's going to knock a few more off before the finish too, Murray.
This just shows what the adrenaline can do for you.
Fresh set of tyres would help, and that's exactly what he's been able to capitalise on.
Absolutely, touché.
Here he comes up the back straight. Brock's ahead of him.
Lap 17, race order. It is still Mark Scaife in the lead, and behind him is Thomas Mazzera. In 3rd position, it is Larry Perkins. In 4th position, it is Jim Richards, and there is the battle.
And Bowe is really flying. Let's take nothing away from the fact that he has got fresh tires. He took the penalty, started from the back of the grid, but he has got the bit between his teeth here, Murray, and is determined.
He really has pulled the bung out with a masterful yank. And John Bowe in the Ford Falcon is flying through the field.
He's got 3 laps to go as they go across the line. Alan Jones has got a car problem. He waved Wayne Gardner through the last time they came past the pits. And here we follow them down into the left-hander. There's JB.
In the Shell FAI Ford Falcon, John Bowe.
He's given Ford fans something to cheer about today. It's been a fairly despondent day for them.
He has 2 disadvantages as far as some drivers are concerned. He has a beard and glasses, and that's an unusual combination.
Let's not get too personal about the glasses.
I can accept the beard, I can't accept the glasses.
I can see my reflection in yours, thank you very much.
So, Larry Perkins, another chap with spectacles. It's not holding him up at all. And Larry is still in 3rd position, behind Mazzera, 2nd place, Mark Scaife, the leader, and only just ahead, as you can see.
Here we've had Mazzera do a spin on the approach to the left-hander. He was doing extremely well there earlier in the race, nailing cars on that occasion, but overconfident.
So we're looking now at the battle for 2nd place on lap 19 out of 20. Only 1 lap to go after this as Mazzera pushes up the dust, fights his way back onto the track, right at the back of the field. Larry Perkins is in second place. Jim Richards is in third position.
And the other good news, Murray, is that John Bauer has a new track record coming through the field, a 1:14.346. So he's done it from the back of the pack today as Perkins gets a little sideways out of that turn.
I can't say I'm surprised because he's driving a masterly race, and there is another spinner. It's Mazzera again. He's either trying too hard or his tyres are completely shot.
I think probably the latter, Murray. He couldn't...
Well, he couldn't hang on with that.
John Bauer is in fifth place now.
Yeah, fabulous drive from Bauer. And here's the man who will go into the books today with almost not the clean sweep he enjoyed at Amaroo Park, but enough to silence his critics. Mark Scaife and the Winfield Commodore. Certainly the class of the field here today at Sandown. And he will take the checkered flag next time as they come down the straightaway. In fact, it is now above, and Mark Scaife completes it today. Beautiful driving from Scaife. Gets along the line for second spot is Larry Perkins. Jimmy Richards gets across there behind him, and then waiting for Peter Brock to come in. And right behind Brock is, in fact, John Bauer.
2 drives, 2 wins, 40 points for Mark Scaife.
Can't do any better than that.
I'm having dinner with him tomorrow, and the drinks are on Mark.
Make absolutely sure of it. Checkered flag for Mark Scaife. Great day for him, for Holden, for Freddie Gibson's Motorsport team. In the Winfield Commodore, he takes off. And we'll confirm for you on our Shell race score the placings today in race number 2 of round 2 here at Sandown. The Shell Australian Touring Car Championship, the amended grid looks something like this after the draw.